Number 6, The Final Destination. When I first saw The Final Destination, I thought it was a good film. I thought it was a very solid, not great, not really good, but I thought very solid entry in the Final Destination series. In fact, I thought it was better than at least one of the other films in the series. But over time, like I've just come to see that it's definitely one of the least. There was like years between me watching like the first two times. I saw it when it came out. Then I saw it shortly after on video, and then there was like a number of years, between like those viewings and the more recent ones. And in that time between viewings, I noticed that people had were ranking it as one of the worst, and I was thinking like, what? I thought this is one of the better ones, not the best, one of the best ones, but one of the better ones. But then I saw it again a few years ago, like, yep. And then I saw it again very recently, just a few weeks ago. Like, I feel like I'm just totally like, I just don't like that movie very much now. It's definitely not a solid, good film. It isn't an awful film. I don't think it's awful. I think it does what it does in terms of being an entertaining film, but is it actually a good film? No. The characters in the films are the most, in this entry, are the most flattest. The Final Destination series isn't known for the most in-depth characters, but these characters are easily the most generic, the most flattest, and there's actually good actors playing these characters. But it's just I don't know. Like the kills are not very memorable for the most part. Not very inventive. Which is crazy because this entry was directed by David Ellis, who directed easily one of the best entries in the series. I don't know what happened. It also doesn't help with the 3D stuff that when you see it in 2D, which most likely you will be seeing in 2D, it just makes the shots look off and weird and odd and flat, and I don't know, just everything about this film is definitely just flat. Not bad, but not really good. Not good at all, really, for the most part, but at least it won't put you to sleep. At least I thought so. From this point forward, with the remaining entries in the ranking list, I think these films are all solid films, solid or greater, good movies. Number 5, the original Final Destination. This one is the one that started it all. I really do appreciate the more, in comparison to the later films, grounded aspects of the movie. It's definitely out there, but doesn't get too outrageous or exaggerated with the kills and the scenarios. I really do appreciate the just a totally somber, completely dead serious vibe to this film. This film definitely, I would say, maybe the best protagonist of all the films, main protagonist. But then again, there's another film that I think could definitely rival that in terms of number one. But easily, Devon Sawa's Alex is one of the best characters in the series. Like he's awesome. You really feel his pain. You really feel the stress that he's going through of this situation. But he still managed to show range. He's not like this one-note sad guy or tortured guy. There's definitely levels to him. And there's a reason why Devon Sawa became a star with this film. The rest of the cast is really strong too as well. And this film is also the first one in the entry to showcase the great legendary Tony Todd as the part of Bloodworth. The kills are really good and creative. The tension, at times you can cut it with a knife. This film is definitely awesome. I guess like the only real major drawbacks with the film is I don't know. I think like the climax is kind of on the weaker side of things. Not certainly not bad. But I think it's just fine. Like I think the real climax of the film, if you talk about emotionally, was like the sequence by the train, and I think that's where the film hits its peak. its crescendo and the actual technical climax of the film, just I don't know, it just feels very underwhelming, undercooked. But the film is definitely, I wouldn't say goes far as save. The film is definitely like rebounds to a high point with the very ending of the film. That final last shot in the film is definitely cinematic gold. One of the best like reaction shots. Well, a scene to get a reaction of audience I've ever seen in anything. It would be higher on the list, but I think the remaining entries, like they're just most of them are just inches within this one. They're all, like I said, from this point, they're all like really good films. Number 4 is Final Destination 3. I know some fans would say that this entry, which is a beloved one, is too low on the list. I'm sorry about that. But again, like I said, the other ones, they're not, they're all inches away from each other, just in terms of quality. Final Destination 3 is definitely easily near the top, if not at the very top, with in terms of the kills. These are definitely some of the most craziest and most intense and just indelible kills in the series. This entry has, along with Alex from the first Final Destination, this is Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I believe, in her first feature role as the main lead. And you can see why later she became a star, because she's just really great in this film. You just empathize with her character from the jump, and yeah, you just want her to get out of this situation so badly that you know that ultimately she's not going to get out of. But besides her character and the male lead as well, I don't care for any of the other characters. That is definitely a major weakness with this film. The other characters, they're either annoying or they're just cardboard cutouts, cannon fodder waiting to be slaughtered by the Reaper. And the opening of the film to me is one of the weaker openings. It's certainly not weak. It's well done, but when you compare it to the openings, the two very unforgettable openings of the first Final Destination, and particularly the second, it just falls short. And the climax of the film is not the strongest. I do think it's a little bit better than the climax of the original Final Destination, but it's just not all that memorable, all that engaging. But it certainly isn't bad. But the film does rebound, not to the same levels as the first Final Destination, the very ending. But yeah, the final sequence, in the subway car and the subway train is it definitely ends things on a solid note. Wish I could have put a little bit higher. Maybe over time I will. But for right now, it is where it is for now. Number 3, Final Destination 5. The thing about the fifth Final Destination that makes it stand, tall amongst the other films in the entry is the ending. Endings are very, very, very important to me, and this Final Destination Part 5 has the best ending. No other ending in the series beats this ending. The ending is one of the few times like I was genuinely shocked while I was watching something in the theater. Usually I can see what's happening in the film. It doesn't take that long for me to know where a film is going. It doesn't take that long for me to know how a film's going to end. This I did not see coming. In hindsight, I don't know how I didn't. The clues were definitely there from almost the very beginning. But yeah, the ending of this film is some really, truly just like, knock you on your ass type of shit. And it definitely recontextualizes the movie, the ending. For the ending alone, it would definitely be one of my favorite ones. But this film also boasts some great kills. Definitely one of the best openings in the series. And the characters on the better side of things now. Maybe not the best character work across the board, but definitely easily one of the best, group of characters in this. And this one also has Tony Todd appearance in it as well, so that's never a bad thing. It's always a great thing. And yeah, definitely one of my favorite ones, part 5. And it's just a little bit above part 3. I think if it wasn't for the strength of the ending of part 5, basically the opening of this film and the ending of this film puts it over part 3. But if I had to probably compare the two without the ending of, the part 5's opening and ending, part 3 would be higher. But, the endings are great. The endings are there. And if I have to compare the films as a whole, part 5 is a little bit better than part 3. Number 2, Final Destination 6. I don't know, like for now it's number 2, even though it could be, I don't know, probably should be tied with part 5. But yeah, I need to see it again. I always saw it once. I saw it at an advanced screening about a few weeks before it was released, a few weeks ago. I was really, really impressed with it. Maybe because my expectations were pretty low. When I first heard about Final Destination 6 being made, I thought it was a terrible idea. I'm like, come on, like, just know when to quit. Part 5 was perfect. It was a great way to cap off the series. But then when I saw it, I was like I said, I was really impressed. Now, again, that could have been due to low expectations, and I need to see it again. And when I see it again, maybe it'll be lower on the ranking. I mean, really, I should amend what I'm saying and maybe put it like tied with part 5. That's a more accurate one to say until I see it again, because the kills are memorable. They're magnificent. That opening's easily one of the best ones on the same level as, the best films in this series in terms of just unforgettable openings. But the the climax is still kind of weak. Like, it's not weak, but it's definitely not as strong as it could be. Definitely better than some of the other weaker films in regards to like their climaxes, but I expected more. And the film was very similar to part 1 in that it hit an emotional crescendo in the set piece before the climax. But still, it's just, I thought it was really well done. The characters are easily some of the best in in the series. There's definitely some attempt at making them a little more complex than usual. I like the whole family dynamic. The plot, I think it's like really good. Maybe could have been executed a little bit better, but I do really like the idea of like the whole generational thing with death following, the family members, and trying to tie up loose ends with everyone who's involved with a particular incident. And of course, like that scene with Tony Todd, if you see it, you know what I'm talking about. Like, it's just some really like heartfelt stuff. It really is. And yeah, this is definitely like, if you're gonna bring back a series after a long period of time being dormant, this is the way to do it. And finally, number 1, Final Destination 2. Part 1 is the one, of course, that started this series. Without, part 1, we don't have a series. Part 1 is the foundation. But part 2 is I don't know, part 2 was like a reset for the series. It's like when you think about Final Destination, when you think about the template of Final Destination, like crazy, exaggerated, out there kills, a dose here and there of black comedy, just the absurdity of the situation, gallows humor, all that. Like, it was really part 2 that started it, and just like the crazy, ridiculous, bonkers openings of the films, part 2, started that. It kind of was a reset for the series in the same way that T2 was a reset for, the Terminator series, or that Aliens was a reset for the Alien series. Like, the series was very different once these films, came up in their franchises, and the public viewed these franchises very differently because of these sequels. And Final Destination, I still see the template the subsequent films have used. Like, they don't generally go to Final Destination 1. They generally use the tone and the feel and like I guess the story execution and kill execution of the second Final Destination. That opening is an all-timer. Unquestionably one of the best openings to any film of all time. I remember seeing that in theaters, and the audience reaction to it just was out of this world. The characters, of all the characters in the film, the collection of characters, this is clearly to me the best one. They give every character a moment to shine in this film. They're definitely the most memorable. And I like the diverse array of characters in this. They're like all backgrounds, all ages, you know, just a variety of things. The story moves at a brisk pace. Not 1 second is wasted. It's tight, it's tense. And even the climax of the film is not weak. Again, I probably wouldn't say it's the strongest. If there's any like weak spot in this film, I would say the climax could use a little more punch. But it still is like solid, and the very ending, and I would say probably all these films endings with the exception of part 4, you know, they definitely leave an impression. So yeah, Final Destination 2 is the best Final Destination film to me. I've seen all the films very recently, and part 2 still stands tall. I thought it was the best one then. I still think it's the best one now.